So the last one was the easiest one to figure out what we're calculating because it says it right in the question. What is the relative risk for wound infection for individuals who have incidental appendectomy? It says right in there we're calculating the relative risk. Relative risk equals RR. And how do we calculate it? We have the incidence and the exposed over the incidence and the not exposed. So how do we do this? Just make it clear. Incidence and exposed. In order to calculate that, we need number new cases in the exposed over total exposed divided by number new cases non-exposed divided by total non-exposed. Okay. So where do we go get those data? Well, our total number of cases, we're looking at this row for our exposed cases. So our total number of cases exposed is 7 divided by our total exposed, which is 131. And then we're dividing this, right? So divided by number of new cases. So now we're looking at our not exposed data. Number of new cases in our not exposed, which is 1, over our total not exposed, which is 79, equals. So we want to make sure when we're doing this, we put the brackets where we need to have them so that we calculate this correctly. I also caution you against just using your previous calculations. So for instance, we already did IE and we already did INE. However, we rounded those to the 10th. And anytime you round your data, it can cause problems in the final calculation. So I always encourage you to not use your rounded data and instead use the raw data from the table in order to calculate these things. So if we divide these numbers out, 7 divided by 131 divided by 1 divided by 79, our answer is 4.2213, which when we round in this class, we end up getting 4.2 as our relative risk. Now, relative risks are interpreted very much similarly to odds ratios, but rather than times the odds, you're now talking about times the risk. So individuals who had an incidental appendectomy had 4.2 times the risk of wound infection compared to those who did not have an incidental appendectomy. That means that the incidental appendectomy is a risk factor for wound infection. We interpret these numbers very much the same because just like an odds ratio, a relative risk also has a base of 1. And you'll see that on the next slide, that all of the interpretations, the only thing that changes, rather than times the odd, you're now saying times the risk.